Hello, everybody. Reuben DeMaster here with Willow Haven Farm General Store. And we have a great guest today. Michelle Sturr has been a friend, a supporter of the farm for probably about 15 years, wouldn't you say, Michelle?
I think so, yes.
And our conversation here, I've thought about doing this many times over the years, and I think it's long overdue. I really want everyone to listen to your story today because I think, like so many people, you started at a particular point, you asked a lot of questions, you made some very significant changes, and you came out on the other side in a place that you probably didn't ever think was possible. So we're going to, you know, you're going to be telling a lot of this story today. I know it's going to bring up a lot of questions and other things in our minds, and we'll go down some of those rabbit holes, but the main thing is that we want to hear what happened to your family. So maybe start back, think back 20 years. Your children are young. You're married for a few years. You have some kids, and you're trying to figure out how do you raise these kids. So where did you start at that point?
Okay. Well, first I want to thank you so much for having me. This is really a passion for me. Our lives transformed tremendously. And you're right, in ways that I could never have imagined. I mean, to the point where I well up just thinking about the transformation. And so this is so important. This work is so important. I wish that more people would be like you, Reuben. But also, most of all, thank you for supporting our community with some really great, nourishing, real food, because that really is the backbone of our transformation.
Yeah, thanks. That's what keeps us doing it through the ups and downs of farming and business, is knowing that there's people like you out there that are appreciative, and but more than that, that it really does change things for a lot of people's lives. So yeah, thanks for saying that, and that you've supported us for so many years.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. And it's been fun, actually.
Yeah.
I remember the first CSA box. It was a little scary.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So my journey started when my kids were young. We had a lot of illness. We had a lot of over-the-counter meds, a lot of prescribed meds, constantly antibiotics in the refrigerator from one kid to the other kid to the other kid, cough suppressants, decongestants, steroidal inhalers. And, you know, we lived the SAD diet, standard American diet, although I thought it was healthy because I added frozen vegetables to the pasta dish and, so I did what I thought was good. But the standard American diet, the SAD diet, we were eating a lot of processed foods.
So that's one of the first keys of the standard diet, is how many processed foods are you buying and eating?
Yeah, cereal.
Yeah.
Like cereal, we thought that was the healthiest thing. Boy, those labels with all those vitamins and enriched, and how could you go wrong,
that magic
right?
word, enriched.
How could you go wrong? But anyway, so that illness in my family lasted many years. I thought it was normal. I kept going to the doctor. I did what I was supposed to do as a mother, what we're told to do, what society advertises to us on TV, right? And then at some point, I just raised my hands up and I said, what am I doing? This is not working. My kids are getting sicker and sicker. And it was hard for so many ways. I mean, one aspect is school. How do you go to school when you're sick? And so that was tough on the kids and me. I mean, I remember actually getting to a point where fall came around and I started feeling a heaviness set in for me, because it was the same old.
Once September started,
the illnesses began, and they lasted through the spring, and it was just a lot of work managing illness.
And you're talking about colds, flu, probably ear infections,
We were cold, flu,
allergies.
allergy, upper respiratory was a big thing for
Mm.
us. One of my children had pneumonia, and I had pneumonia at one point so bad that 2 rounds of antibiotic and then finally a prednisone is what we needed to heal us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now years go by of us just doing that. And that's when I raised my hands and said, there's got to be a better way. This doesn't make sense to me. These are little kids. How can they be so sick? Right? I don't want to just keep medicating them. I want to find out how I can stop the diseases, the illnesses.
Had you ever asked that question to a doctor when you took your kids in? How can we stop this from happening?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
There
They said,
was no answer
Yeah.
for not the answers that I had discovered on my own afterwards and really saw the results. One of the doctors said that they thought it was my son's personality, that he had headaches all the time.
Hmm.
And, and it was hard. He was a little kid. He came to me, Mommy, I have a headache again. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I can't sleep. My head hurts. My head hurts. Well, okay. Doctor said, here's a ibuprofen. So now we get to the point of so
you're asking these questions.
I guess the next part, really what opened my eyes even more, was I saw an ad in Natural Awakenings magazine. That was like my go-to at that point because I didn't know where to find healthy resources locally or anything like that. So I was looking through that one day and I saw this ad, Moms on a Mission, make kids healthy and earn money at home. Well, I was a stay-at-home mom. I thought, I'd love to be able to help my husband. It was a company that manufactured safer products for cleaning and a laundry, and I still use them. They're real. That was the catalyst for me. But you see, it was Moms on a Mission. Okay, so that's key to me because I'm seeing that play over and over and over in all of the successes that I see in all of the people who are like me. It's because they had to deal with something, whether it was for themselves or a loved one, their kids. So Moms on a Mission, it really opens the fact that we really need to start listening to these moms. So I know I'm getting to the solution here, but
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more. But and that's where I began. I answered an ad from a mom who was also trying to help her family stay healthy, who also needed to make money from home because let's face it, it's much easier to raise healthy kids when mom is home.
Absolutely.
Right? So now we switched all of our cleaning products.
That was one of the first things you did.
That was one of the first things that we did.
Right?
Cleaning products.
Right.
The toxins from cleaning products, unbelievable that we don't know as a society how dangerous these products are.
And the fact that they're allowed to be sold on the shelves.
They're allowed to be sold. They're in our homes. Yeah. So right away, when I started doing the research, because this lady, sent me this information, so I was reading and learning, and we are really damaging our kids with the outgassing. You don't even have to use it. If it's sitting in your cabinet, it's outgassing. When you walk down the grocery stores and you smell that
smell, I can hardly do that anymore.
They're not all over the floor. No. They are coming out of their containers.
And you're talking about laundry soap, dish soap, room sprays, any type of spray.
And we were dousing our house with poison because everyone was sick, so I had the Lysol out.
Yeah. The bathroom
dioxin.
Cleaners.
It is a serious chemical
Hmm.
that causes serious issues for people.
Yeah.
So I didn't switch the laundry soap right away because I had just bought a brand new, big, huge,
Yeah.
thick, $25 or something
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Tide. So I hung on to that one. When I changed that, that was the very beginning of my son not needing an inhaler for asthma.
Wow.
Simple thing. And all these moms are what I did, we're giving our kids steroidal inhalers, which are linked to cancer.
Hmm.
So that was like, wow.
That was
Now,
one simple thing,
one simple
right?
change.
Out of
And there you
hundreds you
go.
can
And
make.
there's my other solution.
Yeah.
See, you're making me get in ahead of
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
here. But yeah, so that was one simple change for me that made a drastic impact, but also propelled me into wanting to know, what else did I not know?
It worked, right? So
This worked.
right. No.
Why didn't the doctor ask me about that?
Yeah.
Why didn't the doctor say, you have a lot of upper respiratory stuff. What's your air quality like in your home? Right? Look, I don't want to bash doctors. They
No.
save lives. I have my father, they saved his life many times. And doctors are in a space where their hands are tied too.
Yeah.
They can only provide information on what they were educated on. So if they find anything else out along the way, that may take their license away if they share it with people. So we have to be our own advocate is what it boils down to, right? We need to have the will to search for the answers and not to ridicule people who are. That's another big thing. I mean, I tell you, I've had a lot of friendships and family relationships change because I'm very different now. I challenge something that they maybe not be ready to yet. So, I try to lead with my heart because, I know that they'll probably get along at some point to know more, to be able to also protect their health. And it's sad though that when they're not there just yet, like that is a hard thing for me. I'm trying at this point in my life to create those boundaries to even protect my health even more, because I try to help people who aren't quite ready.
Yeah, that's a really good point that people have to realize. And I see this so much, but once you start going on a food journey or a health journey, you end up having to say no to certain things. And at the beginning, I think it can be very lonely because people aren't necessarily following you, maybe not in your own household even. So there's a lot of, there can be some tension and, um, some humility, of course, is required, and some honesty. But
Yeah.
that beginning this journey is not,
It's not
not
easy.
easy.
It's
Right?
not easy, but you want to know what, Reuben? Managing disease is much harder.
Yes, it is.
Managing disease is much harder. My father I've watched him suffer through Crohn's. That's preventable.
Yeah.
Okay. So getting back to my son, our journey. So now we changed our laundry soap and our home care products, and then we started to little by little understand the importance of eating real food. And that was hard too. We were one income family. The prices of organic, especially back when I started over 20 years ago, it was a lot. It was a lot. So what I did was I figured out, how can this work for me? Because I don't want to go down that path that all the wellness experts are predicting, which I've uncovered in my studies, is that our children will be the first generation to not outlive the parents. And our generation, there will not be enough facilities to house the ill. Well, I said, not me. I'm not doing that. I'd rather put the work in now than later. I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid to live sick. I talk to a lot of patients. I work for a nutraceutical company right now. I speak with a lot of patients. A lot of them are older. It's for eye health. Some of them, they like to talk to me. I'm a personal person, so
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of times they tell me their stories, and some of them can't afford the medicines that their doctors have them on. So that's part of it. I don't want to have to not be able to afford medicine, but I don't want to have to not be able to also just live a healthy life as I age. That's my goal. I just want to live as healthy as I can. I want to be running around with my grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to stay active as long as I can. And I think that's the key to longevity is really supporting the body so that it can do that. So then now we're on healthy foods. Okay.
So how were you able to afford it? I mean, you probably had to cut something out of your budget,
That's
right?
exactly
You
what I
had to
did. I
move
said, you
some
know
money.
what? I'm not going to buy those chips today. Maybe I won't even buy that ice cream because instead I'm going to buy organic milk and organic ice cream and or organic meats or everything
Eggs or whatever, yeah.
right, right. The other thing I did was I realized, meat was more expensive. So when we made one of our favorite family meals, tacos, I instead mixed it half and half with beef and beans.
Beans, yep.
Beans.
Yep.
I try to buy in bulk.
Yep.
That also helps. And I've developed really a lifestyle that feels so good to nourish myself and my family. And I don't even want to go out to eat anymore. It's sad. Like the only places I want to go are here. Well, Cafe Santosha, which I'm not sure they changed hands and they may be going less organic, which I won't be going there. But Pocono Organics is another one, and Switchback. That's it. And so for me, I'd rather not go out to eat and spend my money with my local farmer. Not just because it keeps me healthy, but because I know keeping my farmer in business will give me food security. Because that's a scary thing. Like part of what I've studied, I think I started self-educating, and then I went on to become board certified in integrative nutrition.
That sounds like another whole.
A whole
I'd like-
nother
yeah,
wonderful
I'd
experience.
love to have you back to talk about that
Oh,
because,
yeah.
because at some point, if you follow your passion, you really do need to go get some training.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a conference or a class online, or ideally studying under other people,
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things when we started switching to exclusively organic, and we had not done that when I started farming. I knew I wanted to farm organically, but we hadn't switched over to exclusively eating organic. But as soon as we started organic meats, it became obvious. We had a number of children at that point. Okay, we're going to be eating less meat, and there has to be ways to stretch some of this stuff. So, part of this journey means that there are choices that have to be made. Certain money has to be spent maybe on prioritizing the organic vegetables over the chips, like you said. Maybe it's having one pot meals with the meat in there instead of having a slab of meat on their
Mm-hmm.
plate. So there are ways that, things that probably most people need to do to be able to
Yeah.
afford the switch to what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. But when we talk about afford, I spent a lot of money on copays
Yeah.
for doctors. I spent a lot of money on over the counters and prescription medication.
Being sick is really expensive.
And
Yeah.
it's a drain psychologically, like
Your
there's my
time,
little
your
kid in
energy.
school,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, these kids are suffering. That's why I do this.
Yeah.
It's really for the kids, and especially because I saw what my kid went through. And like in first grade, I said, look, to the teacher, something's going on. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. He has to go to the bathroom a lot. He doesn't feel well a lot. I just have to, we're figuring it out. And then one day my son came home and he actually told me a story. I couldn't believe that he knew the word and was able to use it correctly. The teacher humiliated me, Mom, because I asked if I could go to the bathroom, and again you need to go. And so, we're not equipped in the schools to understand that these children are not behavioral problems. They are health issues that we've created. It really is. But he's doing great now, by the way, and my whole family has. I am amazed at how little medication we use.
Yeah, tell us what happened to your family and your children. You started to make these changes. What did you notice?
Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. Like, even though I know I'm on this path that is the best, I still always am in awe when I see it. It's real. This is real. We changed our chemicals in our home. We switched to organic foods. I wish I would have been able to do everything all at once, but it was a gradual
Too
thing.
much. It's really too
And
much to do at once.
gradual is the way we can stick with things, right? One simple change, gradually adding in the good things. And my family, knock on wood, we barely go to the doctor now. We're not sick. Now, we do get sick. There are times, and I am still on a health journey. So I had COVID really bad. Turns out that it was a dormant Lyme disease. So, which I knew, like, once you start your health journey, you have a better, you're more intuitive to how you feel, what makes you feel certain ways. So I've gotten so much better at understanding that I need to still continue my health journey. So I'm still continuing mine. My kids have never been as healthy as they are now.
How long did it take for them to clear up all these things you're talking about? The sick all winter and the prescription drugs and you mentioned the bathroom
Yeah,
frequency.
it was such a gradual thing. But the one thing for sure was the laundry soap. That
Yeah.
to me was like, wow,
Mhm.
that was it. That's all we needed to do. And now he doesn't need to put these dangerous chemicals into his lungs so that he can actually breathe.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to say over time, gradually, it kept improving.
Mhm.
It kept improving year after year after year. Less and less doctor's visits, less and less medications, to the point where in the last 10 years, maybe 3 prescription drugs for my entire family.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And through osmosis, my mother, may she rest in peace, at that time, she got off of diabetic medications and cholesterol medication. And she wasn't even trying. She just came with me shopping, cooked with me, started buying the things that I bought from you.
Mhm.
And so that was it. And she loved it because she loved food. And that was the other big thing for us, big foodies. I grew up in a family restaurant with 1, 2, 3 Italian mothers in one home at one point.
Wow.
Food was a big
Yeah,
thing for
definitely,
us. So when I started to realize that food was a problem, that was scary for me. I said, oh no, there's no way I can give up the pasta that I love, the pizza that I love. How am I ever going to be healthy? I can't give up these things. Well, I didn't give up those things. Luckily over time, the people started voting with their wallets and more manufacturers, even though it's processed, I think you need to have a balance more than anything. If you try to do all or none, it's a higher incidence of failure, I think. Um, so so that really that made a big difference for us, really just eating organic food and um, yeah. And it's weird too how there are things that you learn along the way that you dismiss before even knowing what I know, there are still things when somebody comes and says, "Oh, there's this about something health wise," and I'd be like, I don't know about that. So I'm always skeptical, which I think is good.
Yeah,
That's what got me where I am
sure.
today. Um, but I always question everything. I think you need to, in order to really get to the the bottom of what we need to do. Question everything,
Mhm.
right? And that's really, I think, why I got to do what I'm doing today and to help my family because I did want to question,
Yeah,
why are they sick all the time?
I agree with that. But I think some people um, start off with skepticism and they never investigate or ask the right questions or even listen to the answers. So I think people, in my experience, sometimes are very dismissive of people like on your journey, oh, organic is a scam and that didn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we support the skepticism up front, but maybe you should research the chemicals that are being sprayed on your food. Maybe look into what irradiating the vegetables in the grocery store does to the vegetables, because most cases, they don't have to report that. So, it's people don't realize that a lot of the things in our food, uh, for example, genetically modified vegetables, it's all through the vegetables. They don't have to tell you that they're genetically modified. When they irradiate the vegetables and put them on the shelf, the grocers don't even know because it comes in irradiated and they don't have to report that. So, yeah, I would be skeptical about organic, but like, take that skepticism and start asking the questions toward the food that you are buying too, I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the questions that came to mind for me. Somebody asked me, well, that's when I met that lady about, the chemicals
Yeah.
and she said, yeah, like, did why did you buy Tide? Like, was there a reason? Did you do the research?
Nope.
No, I see it advertised on TV all the
That's right.
time, and my mother used it.
That's right.
But yet I do a lot of research when I go to buy a car.
Right.
Our
Or a
health
house.
is so much a house, anything,
Right.
I mean, really anything. But we need to start asking ourselves, why am I buying this? When you go to the grocery store, why am I buying this ice cream? Why am I buying? Was it because a lot of times it's just going to be because I like the taste of it. And that's okay. You know
Yeah.
what?
True.
Don't give up everything. Don't deprive yourself. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we need to give ourselves what we want,
Mhm.
but we also don't want to fuel disease. We want to prevent disease, and what you're eating will either fuel it or prevent it. And you
Sure.
really have to know that. We owe it to ourselves, our children, to know what ingredients are in there. And I don't feel comfortable purchasing groceries from the grocery store. I really don't, because it's not transparent. I don't know everything I
Mhm.
should know. And that's why one of the things that I've learned in my journey is know your farmer.
Mhm.
Know your
Yeah.
farmer. Know
Right.
who they are, where, if their passion, their heart is in preserving the earth. Because that's the other thing. I mean, on a bigger scale, we are going to deplete our soil of nutrients and we won't have anything to sustain human
We're
life.
doing it. We're
We're
doing it. It's
doing it.
happening
I know,
globally.
I know. I hate
Uh,
to be so definitive
every
about it, but
we're doing
yeah,
it.
I know.
Every scientist, everyone who studies agriculture has proven it. The UN knows it. The
Yeah.
USDA knows it. If there's, you can read books and
Yes.
studies. we're doing
Yes.
it.
Yes, and that's what's come up for
Yeah.
me. Today, we need to eat like I don't know the exact number, 25 bowls of spinach to equal that one dish for the same nutrients that our great
Yeah.
grandparents ate.
That's right.
So, do you want to spend your money at the grocery store eating nutrient void foods that are sprayed with poison? Or do you want to find a way to support someone who truly understands what's going on and wants to protect the earth and provide exactly what we need? Food is medicine. That's it. Bottom line, food is medicine.
And there's a lot of good farmers out there that understand that.
There's a
So
lot of good
there are,
farmers that
we
understand
buy
that.
from a lot of them too.
Yeah. And that must be tough. Like that's the one thing. Like I'm nervous for the farmers. I've been, these last few years because I know that big business doesn't want the competition. And it's hard to fight big money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another conversation that I'd love to have sometime. Yeah, as you know, our it's a global economy. So, and there's always someone that can offer something that looks similar for a cheaper price. And if it's coming from China or Mexico, they don't always have to tell you. And a lot of people are just gravitate toward that price point and without thinking about some of these other issues. So that's really important. I also want to kind of go back to the mindset where you think you're eating healthy and you just think this is normal and that, well, everyone gets sick and there's really nothing you can do about it. What do you say to people like that? Or how do you, what can spur a change for people that might be in that situation?
Well, first I think it's the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be ready to be awakened, and that's sometimes scary, like to admit like I was buying stuff that caused the issues and that I trusted the doctor wholeheartedly, when really the responsibility of true health is on ourselves, right? Doctors manage disease, they do very well with that in some cases. But the true health comes from us. So really it's the mindset of, okay, I I want to understand more because there may be something to this, so I'm going to invest my time into trying to understand why Reuben thinks the way he thinks, why Michelle thinks the way I've heard these stories, and people are hearing stories like ours because we're growing in number.
Yep.
So I think that if they are open-minded and then commit to themselves and their family by one simple change, and that's really all it takes. It doesn't have to be your hardest thing, like pizza. I didn't give up pizza. I never have. I just found a better source for pizza.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's really what it boils down to. So, your mindset, being open to
Admitting you're wrong.
admitting that you may not know everything, or that your doctor may not know everything,
Right.
or wherever you learned the things that you're doing now, question, why am I doing this? And why am I eating this and buying that? And then one by one, everyone knows what they need to do, right? You could pick anyone on the street and you say, what do you need to do to turn yourself around, your health? What's one thing that it can be? And somebody might say, I know it's soda. I drink a lot of soda, right? So then how about take that one step and don't just give it up completely.
Find an alternative.
Find an
Right.
alternative. And that's
Right.
what we did. We were
Right.
on soda. We then went to, like seltzer water with a little splash of juice.
Yep.
Now our mocktails are seltzer water, a little coconut water, and a splash of kombucha. Beautiful. It's wonderful. I love it, and it feels so good. So if you can do that, also rate things. sometimes we can't do the best of everything, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. But maybe you can do good. If you can do good, then that's better than bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Good, better, best.
Right.
So, I love to do the best, but sometimes it's not always
It's a step.
easy.
You have to make an incremental step instead
Right.
of
Right.
throwing everything out, and it's overwhelming if you try to do
Right.
that. It's too
It is
much.
overwhelming because, you don't know what to eat. I tried that because my son had a lot of food sensitivities, which was a result of gut dysbiosis, which was a result of over medication and destroying the gut.
Yeah.
So, then that affects the brain. Like people don't realize the impact of good quality food. I think if they started to just do a little research to understand the true impact of good quality food, they'd be scared not to buy good quality food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Batch cooking. We're busy. We're busy,
I remember you saying that you've done that for years,
yeah,
make
it's the
meals ahead
only
of
way
time.
I
Yeah.
make,
Yeah.
on a Sunday, and luckily, I love to be in the kitchen. My husband cooks. My kids are all great
Yeah.
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
We make a big soup or a stew on a Sunday or a Saturday, depending. That lasts us all week. And then you have to be ready. You have to label it because
Yep.
if you're not going to use it in like 3 to 5 days, you want to freeze it.
Yep.
So, and that, it takes a little, there's process.
Haven't you done cooking classes before?
I have actually
See,
at your farm.
you've done a lot of things. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
done a salad in a jar party. I gathered women over and we made, that's another good one. Salads in a jar.
Yeah.
Now, because my husband and I both work out of the home, I don't need to be prepared with a jar to go, but that's another way to prepare. We make a big salad topper with whatever, whether it's um, uh, beans like chickpeas and cucumbers and scallions and parsley and tomatoes, cut that all up and mix that with our whatever kind of dressing, olive oil, lemon juice, seasonings. And then that's ready. And then all week, either I just take a little bowl of that if I want it like that, or I put it on top of a nice lettuce. So all week, that's pretty much what we're eating. Sometimes we have, oh, I love those brioche rolls that you have. We had a nice sandwich yesterday on those. The brioche bread we've had, we're making, we really use a lot of eggs, so it has a lot more protein, and we're making delicious French toast with wonderful fruit with it. It's amazing. And walnuts, like these are things that, I always had cereal, and boy, what a disappointment now that I know what really it is. It's almost like cardboard with sugar in a cardboard box.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about your current work, or what are you doing now? Or what are you thinking about moving forward? How are you going to continue to share this with other people?
Yeah. Oh,
I
you
mean,
had
you've
to bring
never,
that question
yeah,
up,
well, you've
right?
never really stopped doing it, I don't think.
No,
You've been
I've
talking to
never really
people.
stopped, right?
Yeah.
Because it's such a passion
Yeah.
for me. And so I get myself in trouble sometimes
Yeah,
still,
of course,
but
yeah.
I know I'm helping people because every now and again you'll have someone come and say, like one of Grace, my daughter's volleyball friends, we saw them somewhere, and she said, "You'll be so proud of me. I'm eating so healthy." So I know I impacted people. But right now, so an opportunity arose for me about 4 years ago to work for a pharmaceutical not a nutraceutical company. So I work with patients of eye doctors, helping them understand the impact of nutrition on the eyes.
Wow.
So we do manufacture a really, really high quality omega-3 fatty acid and some other vitamins as well. But it's all exclusive to the eyes. So it's rewarding for me because I know that the omega-3s are really hard to get in our diet.
Yep.
Our body doesn't make or store them. So I'm helping people by something their eye doctor recommended, but I am really impacting their brain, their heart, their joints, hair. So it is rewarding in some way. But you know, I get the itch to really play
Yeah.
bigger. I do. I get that a
Yeah.
lot. And I'm, you know, I kind of, like I said, I stopped social media for a while because it became a toxic environment that I didn't really want to be a part of.
Yep.
But I'm more and more feeling like I need to figure out how I want to present myself to help more people with food. And because I think when I first started health coaching, people were not ready. But now, especially since after COVID, I mean, you know, we have the research. We know that most of the people who died had some other serious condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, well, we need to end those serious conditions.
Right.
Right. And then more people, when other things like this occur, will be able to weather the storm.
Every medical person that I talk to, and I know a lot of medical people, they say that the general state of health is terrible and declining. And you can look at everything from obesity, the diabetes rates are insane, the autism rates are really high, cancer and the childhood cancers that are coming up. Pretty much every family that I know has chronic disease, but especially cancer in their family.
Mm-hmm.
I know you lost family members. My mother, my brother, and people are going through these things. It's no longer like, oh, I was 80, 85 and I got cancer and died. No, it's 30s, 40s, 20s. And these things are, these shouldn't be happening.
It's an epidemic.
It's an epidemic.
It's an epidemic. And I think that alone, I hope people can see that's the information. Like once you start seeing that real information, because they're not going to advertise that 50% of children today or people today are diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
They're not going to advertise that. But when you know those statistics, you think, oh, wow, that's not really, those odds are not great. So what can I do? Like if you're someone that wants to prevent disease, because I'm convinced you're either going to make choices to prevent disease or you will have to manage disease. I see it playing out for the last 20 years. When I first started sharing this information with my friends and family, like, guys, this is what we need to do, you know, this. And everyone looked at me like I had a third eye because I said, you need to take the toxins out of your house.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds so bizarre. We live in a bizarro world where we have to defend how important it is to remove toxins from our home.
Yeah.
And it's a simple thing, right? You want to live a good, healthy life. You want to raise healthy kids, avoid toxins, increase nutrition. And nutrition isn't just food. Nutrition is who you talk with,
For sure, yeah.
your time outside, your sunshine. There's a lot that covers that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for a great conversation. I know people are going to be interested and inspired by this. I guess I'll let you, your final message to people who are listening. What, you know, you've given a lot of advice and recommendations, but what's the final call to action here?
I think it's really love yourself enough. Love yourself enough. Love your family enough. They're depending on us.
That's right.
They're depending on us. And this is a very, very serious thing. So love yourself enough to say, you know what? I don't need to be sick. My kids don't need to be sick. And put the time in and figure it out. And reach out to the people, the sources, you know, that to help you, because it's not easy. And find friends. That's a great support too. Community. You know, ask your friends, hey, you know, I know that disease is rampant. I had all these people in my family die. You want to work with me on figuring this stuff out so that we can help our children?
Yeah.
Because my kids are ready. They can create meals to sustain good health, but I hope they can find spouses that are ready for them.
Yeah. Maybe we should have it just occurred to me, maybe we should have a follow-up, like a discussion group on a Saturday at the store. Anyone who listens to this, any young moms or anyone really that would like to come and just talk about the next steps for them, that might be
Absolutely.
of
I would
interest to
love
people.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
I would love that. Are
yeah,
you kidding? That
yeah,
would be, I would be in my glory.
yeah, yeah.
That, and if you let me get in the kitchen once.
Yeah. We've had made food together before. Do you remember?
Yes, at the
Yeah,
farm.
yeah.
Yes, and we
Kimchi, I believe.
kimchi,
Yeah, yeah.
or was it sauerkraut?
Both probably.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
I loved
I have a
that.
few pictures of that, but I
I
had
got to
more.
get out here again. It's been so
Yeah,
hard, full-time
yeah,
job.
yeah. All of us are
Yeah.
busy. Our
Yeah.
lives are very difficult,
Yeah.
but
Who knows? Maybe my employer will let me work 4 days a week, and then I could come here one
it'd be
day a
amazing.
week,
Yeah,
and that would
yeah,
be, I would be in my
yeah,
glory. Like
yeah.
this, what you're doing is a dream.
Mm,
I love it. And
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.